So today in our How Much Do They Make series, we have a special guest. We have a surgeon that we are going to be talking to today. But first, just hi, I'm Mary.
I'm Ken.
Of the Humble Penny and Financial Joy Academy. And what we do on this channel is to give you the tips, the insights and the practical hacks to help you work towards a dream life of financial independence and money joy. So without further ado, let's interview our guest who is a surgeon, Jonathan. Welcome, Jonathan.
Hi guys, thank you for having me on your show.
Hi Jonathan, good to see you. So the big reason we're doing this particular series is because we know that one's income is their biggest wealth creation tool. So we're introducing this series just to really give people ideas about various career options, to meet real people like yourself who are actually out there doing the work, and more importantly, to talk about the money, because a lot of people don't talk about money. Culturally, we want to just demystify that. Do you want to just tell people kind of what your background is, what it is you do practically day to day?
Again, thanks for the opportunity today, guys. So my name is Jonathan Makanjuola. I'm a consultant urologist. So I'm a surgeon and working in South London in a big teaching hospital. I work for the NHS and I work about 80% of my time. And about 20% of my time I work in private practice at the HCA hospital at the Shard, which is near London Bridge. A bit about me, I'm a Londoner born and bred. I grew up in East London. I actually took an unorthodox path to medicine. I was actually a software developer and project manager for a large IT company. My first degree being in computer science. And then a few years into the work, I kind of had an epiphany where I really wanted to be a doctor. So I left, I gave that life up and went to medical school for 5 years. Went through that. I was at King's College London in central London as a medical student, and then managed to get into surgical training in London, and here I am today. Is the remix version,
That just sounds to me like, it just sounds like everything just connected up.
Yeah.
So you go from, most people have one career all their lives. So you were a computer scientist.
Yeah.
And then from there, you went on to pursue this career in medicine. Like, I mean, how did you get into that? Just talk to us about how you got into becoming, into the medical field, becoming a surgeon.
So I was always interested in medicine. I think when I did my A-levels, I did the traditional science subjects, but I didn't do as well as I'd hoped. And at the time in the early 2000s, everyone's becoming dot-com millionaires, and I always had an eye for technology. So I went to university, Brunel University.
Brunel. Honestly, great
alumni.
Great people came from Brunel University. Can I just put it out there? Yeah.
And I spent 4 years. I did a sandwich course. I worked for Canon Incorporated in that 1 year. And then after I finished my first computer science degree, I went back to work for them as a software developer and project manager. Really interesting and great work, but there was more calling me. I had a calling, I had a deeper calling. And I applied. I remember going through the newspaper and I saw an advert for a graduate program in medicine. I didn't tell a soul. I didn't tell my mum, my family at all, and I just applied. And I got in, and everyone was really shocked in the office, like, why are you doing this? You're going to be a student again for 5 years. And fast forward now, and I've made it happen, basically.
Amazing. So tell us, Jonathan, what does a day in the life of a surgeon typically look like?
So that's something it's interesting to hear from your viewers, because as a surgeon, a lot of people think it's very glamorous. You watch, Grey's Anatomy and all those shows and think we're running around saving lives all the time. And that's a very small part of what I do. So when I'm on call, which means I take all the calls for not me, my juniors do, for South London, and any surgical urology emergencies I manage. That's only 1 day a week in my week. But in a typical day, I probably wake up at 6. I try and meditate and just have time to myself because I've got 2 kids and a very busy household. I leave my house about 7 and drive. I normally commute to work by car. Get into office for 8 o'clock, and there's already like 20 emails in my inbox by the time I get into the office. We often do a ward round, so I'll see the acute patients that have come in the night before. And that lasts for an hour. And then normally I'm off as a surgeon, I love theatre. So I'm normally on a theatre day, I go straight to theatre and my team would have consented the patient, so get them ready for surgery. So I arrive, so I'm a bit of a professor now. Rather than having to do the donkey work, I just arrive and the patient's asleep and I can do my operation. Yeah. Whereas I did 10 years of having to run around. So I now just turn up and do the operation. If I'm doing a morning list, that normally starts about 9 and finishes at 12. Rush to my office to do some more admin and eat a sandwich. And then if I've got a clinic in the afternoon, I have to get changed and see about 12 to 15 patients in an outpatient department. I normally finish at about 5:30. and then I normally do admin for another hour or two because I don't like to leave during the rush hour. So I'd rather wait till the traffic's less. So I leave about 6 o'clock and get home for about 7. So pretty much from 7 to 7, I'm doing about 12-hour days.
12-hour days,
Wow.
right. So it's interesting hearing you say that, because I never actually expected you to say you get to work and check your emails. I never think of surgeons and think emails, because emails I think of like corporate people in a city and so on, or in law and what have you. But I never ever think of surgeons checking their checking their emails. I just always imagine you guys kind of plugged in, working on someone's brain or something.
Yeah, he's been watching too much Grey's Anatomy.
Yeah, too much Grey's Anatomy, yeah. But I do have remote access, so sometimes when I'm really busy, I just jump on my laptop and I literally am in theatre supervising my junior team, doing an operation, and I'm there checking emails and shouting at them from time to time. So yeah. So, but the reason I do it in the morning is that once I'm in theatre, obviously I can't answer my phone, I can't reply to anyone. So you either get a reply from me really early or really late in the day.
Right.
Jonathan, so I'm intrigued about you. How old are you, out of interest?
So I am 39.
39 years old. I've heard you make references to your team and things like that. So you're obviously a senior guy working, as in the medical arena. So what would you say are the top 3 things, if you had to almost summarize it, that have made you a success? Oh, and with the backdrop, let's be very obvious. You're a young black male in London, and you've managed to even essentially have 2 dream careers so far, as a computer scientist and as a surgeon. What 3 things have actually made you stand out and made you the success that you are today?
Yeah, that's a really good question, actually. And I've been working with a life coach for the last 6 months. We can get into that later, but I really had to address and try and think about this. And I'd say the first one is tenacity, because I grew up in East London. I grew up in a part of London where people like me, I never saw people like me that were in surgeons, I didn't have anyone, throughout my life, I never had a reference point for somebody to, do this and this is how you do that. I made my own playbook. So I think tenacity and just not saying no. I'm pretty bloody minded. When I get my mind on something, if you say no, it's just, I'm going to find another way to get there, basically. So tenacity is one. You have to have stamina, because it's a long haul, When I was growing up in East London, a lot of my friends were in football and music and wanted to be rappers and things, and that's short money. But I knew that wasn't for me. So yeah, whilst they were driving Renault Megans, I loved the Megane when I was younger. I had everyone wanted a Megane in East London, yeah. I had a Ford Fiesta. I knew that. And my dad's from Nigeria, my mum from Sierra Leone in West Africa. My surname is Makanjuola, which in Yoruba means don't rush for wealth. So, build up things. Yeah, it's crazy how these things go around. In Nigeria, there's always as you guys know, there's always a meaning of a name, basically. So it's kind of delayed gratification, working hard when you can when you're young.
Rich quick. I hear you, man.
Exactly. Get rich quick is not happening with me, basically. It's steps. Tenacity, bloody mindedness, stamina, and humor as well, because a lot of bad things happen during the day. I'm talking to families that have lost loved ones. I'm breaking bad news. I'm dealing with colleagues that are in difficulty. So there is, especially with COVID now, we're seeing a lot of death, unfortunately. So I think you have to be able to, obviously, when I say humor, I don't mean come joking with the patients, but you have to have humor just to kind of get through the day. Otherwise, for your mental health, it's important.
Yeah.
That's such an important point you made about humour and, just trying to stay positive in all situations. So what do you like most about your role and what you do?
I love meeting people. As you can tell, I'm a people person. I must interact with about 30 different people in a day, basically, in terms of patients. So, meeting people, I like, and just finding about their stories. Everyone is not just a patient. They've always got a backstory about why they've come now or why they're having their surgery now. So I love meeting people and talking to people. And I like fixing things. As a young kid, my mum said I've always broken things down and tried to fix them. So I think, subconsciously, that's always been me. I'm always trying to fix people. That's why I probably went into surgery as opposed to into psychiatry or medicine, where you give a tablet or you talk to a patient and it takes longer to heal them. I like instant kind of results of stitching something up, they're fixed, they go home, basically. Sometimes, yeah.
So one of the things that I've learned on my personal journey that's made my career interesting is that I had some complexity in my job. For you as a surgeon, beyond kind of, I guess for us, we're going to stereotypically think of surgeons doing very complex work. What do you find most challenging about your job, Jonathan?
Yeah, I'd say it's the really big cancer cases we do. So as a urologist, I deal with external genitalia, I deal with in men, I deal with reproduction, kidney stones, but the kidney cancer work is and bladder cancer work is very challenging because you're literally opening people up, or keyhole surgery, and you're millimeters from the biggest blood vessel, which is called the aorta. And if you damage that, that person will bleed and die. So I don't want to make it sound too dramatic, but you are literally life and death when you're inside a patient basis. So, and sometimes it's become pretty routine to me now, but sometimes you stop and think, wow, and I always say to my junior doctors, if you make a mistake, literally that patient's dead. So, you have to always remind myself and humble myself that, yes, it's becoming routine as I become more experienced, but I've got literally, I don't want to overplay it and sound like God complex, but you've literally got someone's life in your hands. And you have to justify yourself when the patient wakes up and you see their family and their loved ones, and they're giving they're committing their life into me, and it's a responsibility and honor for that to happen. So,
Absolutely.
Wow.
Wow.
This is an exciting part of this interview, by the way. We're going to talk about the money now, Jonathan, because money is a topic that we just shy away from. And so we want to just know from you, let's just break it down and be very, very upfront. Like, how much do you actually make in income per month?
Okay. Yeah, so
just give us the breakdown.
So as an NHS surgeon, and this is all information available on NHS websites, this is not a surprise. We go in pay scale. So when you start as a day one surgeon, your starting salary is £82,000, excluding London waiting. So they think we get an extra £2,000 for London waiting, which is not much. And as you move through the ranks in terms of years, it's what medicine's one of the only specialties where every year you're going to get a pay rise. I've worked in the public sector, in business and finance, where it's based on performance and bonus. And to a degree, it's based on performance, but it's also very hierarchical. So a year one consultant gets £82,000. A year two consultant gets £84,000. A year 10 consultant will get £105,000. So as you go through in years, your pay is very much fixed, and you know exactly what you're going to be earning. And that translates to about 4,000, anywhere up to 6,000 a month, basically.
Yeah.
Net.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
So that's interesting. So how else could you explore making an income? Because you mentioned, like, you do your own thing at the Shard, running your own practice. Mm-hmm. What other opportunities could someone who's a surgeon explore as a way to generate an income, for example?
So there's a lot of opportunity. I think what helped me is that I've come from a business and a finance background in IT as well, and I saw a lot of opportunity in that, basically. So in terms of extra money, there's simple things like being an expert witness. So my brain is my financial wealth and my hands, and I can make quite a lot of money. So maybe £2,000 or £3,000 a day, go into court to give my testimony on an issue leading to surgery. And was there negligence, for example, or was there wrongdoing by surgeons? It can be quite challenging work, number one. And number two, having to be on a dock against a colleague potentially can be quite challenging. So it's not for everybody. And there's a lot of training that has to go into that. And I never take on work of people, if you know that person or you're in the same region, you can't do the job anyway. So that's quite lucrative if you wanted it. But you spend a lot of days in court and a lot of your time as well. So I tend to stay away from that, to be honest. The main bulk as a surgeon in terms of what I do is I earn extra money from private practice. And private practice in the UK is a bit of a dirty word. In the United States, it's a badge of honor, going into private practice. In the UK, we're very much hush-hush. We don't like to talk about it. It's all very hidden, If you give your business card, you're seen as a salesman. I think the problem is that as doctors, we're not meant to be salespeople. We're meant to be doctors. We're meant to do a job. And when you start talking about money, some people get uncomfortable. But I think you have to get over yourself in that. At the end of the day, we're for a certain lifestyle. I don't think the NHS pays me enough for my skill set. If I was in the United States, I'd be earning at least $250,000 a year minimum. And in the UK, I know as doctors in the UK, we're undervalued. So what can I do to supplement income for myself and family and greater good, basically? So I work at the London Bridge Hospital and HCA, the Shard, the big building that you can't miss in London Bridge. On the 5th floor is my clinic, and I see men on Tuesday, outside of my NHS hours. So I see them on Monday mornings when I'm not contracted, because I've got certain obligation to NHS. So Monday afternoons and Thursday afternoons, I'm not expected to be in the NHS seeing patients, and I'm in my private clinic.
Okay. I mean, people prefer to go private anyway, so I don't know why it's seen in a bad way. Some people actually do prefer that option, so it's good that that service is available for those people that prefer it. But yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. If I don't see them, somebody else will see them. Like there's a market, especially with COVID now. We're seeing, like, for example, I had to cancel all of my outpatient surgical activity for the last month. And people were stressed and panicking. So I've seen my private practice numbers increase substantially because people kind of access NHS. And there are some ethical issues. I do feel sometimes like, well, why is this patient paying to see me when my hospital or my NHS has cancelled them? So there are things you wrestle with. But at the end of the day, I offer a service, a high quality service. And if they don't come and see me, they're going to see somebody else. So
just give us an idea. So what if someone came to you see privately in a private practice? On average, like what might they pay for that?
Okay. So yeah, so it really depends on if you're insured or not. If you have insurance from the major insurance companies such as AXA or Bupa, the fee that the surgeon typically gets is about £120 for that consultation. It's about 15 to 20 minutes consultation. If you're a self-pay, i.e. you're not insured and you're self-funding this, then the fee is £250 for that consultation. So for self-pay patients, the cost of healthcare is a lot higher. So I see a lot of, and then the other avenue is patients from Arabic patients that are from Dubai or Saudi Arabia, especially from Kuwait. So I see Kuwaiti patients, but all Kuwaiti patients are paid for by their government. So they will give me an IOU and I have to chase the money down at some point, basically. And that can be problematic. But yeah, so patients from Kuwait and Qatar, their embassy pays for their fee, basically, and they do a big IOU.
So what's the maximum income potential for somebody who is a surgeon, for example?
In the UK.
In the UK.
In the UK.
Yeah.
I think it depends on your specialty. So if you're a plastic surgeon, where the majority of your work is going to be self-pay work, because let's remember, NHS does not do tummy tucks and boob jobs. So you're going to see a lot more, you're going to do a lot more, get a lot more revenue in. And also it depends on what time you're prepared to put in this. So I do 2 days a week, and I've really quite clearly did not want to do weekends or Saturdays to compromise my family time. And I try and avoid doing evenings, but that's for everyone's different. Some of my colleagues will go every day after they finish NHS and go straight to the private sector, and they're from 5 till 9 every day. And they're probably doing more money than me, but I don't want to compromise family time. I've got a young family and I don't want to compromise that now. So I've set boundaries in terms of my time. If I'm good enough and people want to see me, they'll come and see me regardless.
So just thinking about that, so people watching might be thinking to themselves, do you know what? So I could be working as a surgeon at a very basic, I might make a good 6-figure income, and then on top of that, I might do private practice. So before you know it, it could be, heading up to north of 200,000, I don't know, based on
Correct,
kind of what I'm hearing. What 3 pieces of advice would you give someone who's watching this now and who says, I'd love to do what Jonathan does as a career one day, and I'd love to earn the sort of money he's earning?
Yeah. Well, the key thing is do not let money be your driver.
Yes.
Because at the end of the day, my hands have been years of skills. I've done 2 fellowships. I've been to Sri Lanka. I've done training for 10 years of training, basically. So I'm very skilled in what I do. So I just see it as I'm monetizing my skill now. But at the end of the day, when you're going through as a trainee, money cannot be your driver. You have to be the best you can be for that person in front of you, that patient. And I think if you're the best surgeon, the most skilled in what you do, the best communicator, the money will come because people will seek you out because you're good at what you do. But if you're making money your focus, then it becomes a slippery slope, because then you start doing things that you really, not illegal, but they're very grey things that you probably shouldn't take on, that's outside your area of expertise, to chase money. And patients become a dollar sign or pound sign rather than a human being who's got wants and feelings and needs you to help them, basically. And some of my colleagues, I won't say names, but some of my colleagues, I've seen people where they're going down that slippery slope. I'll put it that way.
So, but that must be, that's the thing, that must be really challenging for you guys. You've got a morals almost argument as well, but at the same time, you want a particular lifestyle. You kind of want to live in a particular way. So how does a doctor balance that? How does a surgeon balance the need for them to, I guess, achieve certain levels of wealth in their lives whilst also trying to make sure that they are putting their patients, obviously first and so on?
Yeah, I think it's giving back. So I do a lot of work, I do a lot of research, and I've actually just been awarded a £1.2 million grant for work on artificial intelligence. So I brought my old tech degree into medicine, into sharp focus. So that's another thing. But research, and also I think staying in NHS, keeping yourself humble. At the end of the day, in the mornings I'm in Brixton, South London, seeing one of my patients who's got prostate cancer, and we're spudding each other and talking about music and things in the clinic. And in the afternoon, I'm seeing a lord or lady in the Shard, basically. But I think it's just keeping yourself humble and being humble and saying at the end of the day, this is just a patient in front of you, regardless of their title, their status, how much money they have, and they still need this to be sorted out by you. And that's my overriding kind of thought. And
yeah, because health is one of those things that, whether you're rich or poor in some ways, like in some ways it doesn't really matter, because if you're really, really ill, in some cases your money can't really help you to.
Yeah. And I've been blessed to work in the United States as well, and it's a completely different system there, where it's all about your ability to pay your insurance. I've seen literally where somebody was near death's door, they got wheeled into the emergency room, the doctors patched them up and sent them out. They said, sorry, there's no insurance. Whereas in the UK and NHS, which is a brilliant resource, that will never happen. Whether you're a lord or the most basic, someone who's on benefits, you're going to get exactly the same level of care. And that's what I love about it, basically. And I think that keeps me grounded. I go to conferences around the world and meet colleagues who are multi-millionaires and think, oh, wow, it'd be great to get paid substantially for what I do. But you kind of lose your moral compass sometimes, I think, if you're chasing that dollar, especially when it comes to healthcare and people's lives.
So because this is a money channel, we have to ask you, what is your relationship with money?
What's it like?
It's a complicated one. I was just saying to you off air, I've just done my tax return. I've put in about £30,000 in tax return. I was having a big debate with my accountant, basically, because initially we talked about doing a limited company for my earnings versus pay as you earn. And at the time I wanted to do pay as you earn because I wasn't sure I was going to make enough money. And I didn't want the complexity of a company. I've had one before. But I've crossed that threshold now, and I'm actually now going to pay 60% tax because I've gone over the 120,000 threshold. So as I'm giving all this money to HMRC, I'm saying there must be a more efficient way of doing this. So I'm gonna have to reset up another company now for my healthcare work specifically.
Okay.
So just to mention for the people watching, because they're probably thinking 60% tax and you've got corporation tax at 20%. So what you mean is your effective rate of tax is going to be that. That's what you're talking about,
Correct.
right?
Yeah, effective rate. Yeah. So I get good advice. I pay for good accountants to help me, and I really research into really not tax avoidance. You pay every penny to HMRC, but how can you minimize what you give in an efficient way, basically? And one thing I've got into is a SCIS scheme, which is a government scheme led by HMRC, where you invest in tech companies. So tech's my passion. So I invested 2 tech startups, a company called Heppian, which are doing artificial intelligence translation, and a company called Medix, which is a Nigerian-based tech startup. So I'm investing money in there, and I'm able to write off, in terms of my investment, 50% of the tax, which has been great to invest in tech startup, but also reduce what I'm giving to HMRC.
And that's fully legal, obviously.
Fully legal, yeah, 100%. You can go on HMRC website and see it there. It's government's trying to foster UK companies in tech startups.
Exactly.
Amazing.
Yeah, so I was going to ask you, so you mentioned that you grew up with a Nigerian father and a Sierra Leonean mother. Mm-hmm. What did you learn about money from your parents growing up?
It's kind of opposite spectrums. Like my dad was, being a Nigerian man, I'd say very frugal with money. Let's use the word frugal. We had to account for everything we spent. We used to go to Wrigley Road Market in East London and buy like everything. I used to be dragged there. Yeah, Wrigley Road. So I learned about discipline of money. I learned about not just throwing money away and being flashy. My dad earned a bit of money and could have bought the best cars, but he thought, no, I'm going to save. And he was a big saver. So in his retirement, he had quite a big pension pot from savings, just the old-fashioned saving your money, put in ISAs, the traditional stuff. My mum's a big spender. So she'd like the nicer things and want to enjoy herself and travel. And she had a few houses, but I've seen where her spending was a bit more erratic. So I've seen both, and I'm somewhere in the middle. I do like the finer things, but I understand the importance of saving and saving for a rainy day, basically.
So what do you currently spend most of your money on per month?
So in terms of my monthly salary now, a lot of it goes on childcare. I've got 2 young kids. We've got a nanny because we need help with childcare. So we're spending about 2,000 a month just on childcare. Nanny and
$2,000 a month. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, on childcare. I'm glad. I'll be so happy when they go to school, then that fee goes down. But then a lot of my colleagues will be their kids in private school, so that can double or triple. So I've got colleagues who are paying 30,000 a year on school fees, and they've got 3 kids. So that's not, 90, almost just under 100,000 in school fees. So that's
it's a lot.
Yeah, that is a lot. That is a lot. So look, everyone we know, including us, we've made mistakes growing up when it comes to money. Can you think about any mistakes you've made growing up, maybe in your teenage years or your 20s? Do you kind of look back and think to yourself, wow, like I wish I kind of have some regrets, but I've learned something from that mistake as well?
Yeah. In my 20s and 30s, I was always looking for that get rich quick scheme. So I remember when I was in my late teens, I went, looking back, it was a Ponzi scheme. Let's not be any... I went to a hotel in Hammersmith, sat there, listened to someone inspirational talker about business, and at the end, they wanted to bring £5,000 and bring 10 people. And then I didn't, thankfully I didn't go into it, but I was very tempted because I saw friends make a lot of money and buy new BMWs, and I thought, wow, this is great. But it was a Ponzi scheme, looking back on it, you just you're profiting on people bringing people. And if you're at the bottom of that pyramid, you're going to lose a lot of money, basically. And I've seen friends lose money. So in my late teens, when I was after finishing university, bit broke, I wanted to try and, even as a junior doctor, I thought I'd try and make some money because our salary was pretty basic when we started.
So one thing I've got to ask you, how do you treat yourself, just any guilty pleasures or anything that you spend your money on just to treat yourself because you work hard?
Yeah. I really like traveling. So because work hard, play hard. So when I get time, we definitely try and go on nice holidays, at least once or 2 or 3 times a year. Just to switch off, unwind, it gets quite stressful in the environment. So I need to just physically get myself out of the environment and go somewhere. So before lockdown, I was in Hawaii, and then my wife's from Bermuda. So we spend a lot of time in Bermuda on like boats. So travel's one. And I've recently got into whiskies. It's a random thing, and cognac. So I own a few of those now. So yeah.
But that sounds like the rich life, isn't it?
It's trying to be the rich life. It's not the rich life, but I've got some patients and clients who introduced me to that world, and I've sampled some stuff. And
Yeah. Interesting. So look, I'd love to hear, this is one of my favorite questions to ask, is what is the dream, Jonathan? Like, if you think about your life right now, you're working hard, you're giving back, you've got kids, you've got, you've had careers. What's the big dream? What's your ultimate financial goal?
I think my ultimate financial goal is to be comfortable. Not a multi-billionaire, but I'd love to own some clinics, and I'm doing some work in Nigeria and Sierra Leone now, and in the Caribbean as well. And I'd love to be able to give back and have obviously a private arm where it's money generated, employ doctors and diagnostics and things, but also have a philanthropic aspect where I can give back. So there's a small village called Makeni in Sierra Leone where my granddad was chief of the area, and before he died, I promised that I will build a clinic there. So that's one of my goals there. I'm into medical sales and medical equipment as well, and tech. So we've set up a tech startup company. So I'd really love to kind of give more of my effort to that. So do less surgery, less hands-on, and more kind of overview. I'd love to kind of wake up and make money, and not have to work so hard in what I'm doing now. Yeah.
Fantastic.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah,
anything else?
Jonathan, no, I think we've covered it. Thank you so much for coming to join us on this series here.
Thank
just being so candid about this. I think a lot of people watching this will find it very useful. Mm-hmm. If you guys are watching, if you found this really useful, we'd love for you to make sure you hit that like button, as well as subscribe to our channel, because every bit of subscription we get is helping us on our ultimate goal of growing this channel and helping as many people as possible. Thank you so much for watching today.
Thank you, guys.
Thank
Jonathan,
you.
Thanks again for joining us. It's been amazing having you on.
Yep, and as ever, in all things, be thankful, guys, and seek joy.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.